Oh, oh, oh. Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om. Offering my humble pranams at the lotus feet of our most merciful Mother Sai, who every week brings to us his gems. And here we have someone whom we have been fortunate to hear earlier in this series, and someone who has spent a long journey with Sai and continues that inspiring people. Our speaker for today is Brother K.Anil Kumar, who's fortunate to be born to ardent devotees of our dear Lord. He's the son of Sri K.S. Murty and Srimati K. Alivelumangamma, ardent devotees of Bhagawan since the 1950s. And with Swami's grace, he joined what was then the Sathya Sai Arts, Science and Commerce College at Brindavan in 1979 for his PUC, completed his B.Sc in 1984 and went on to do his master's and his doctoral work at Prashanti Mandir and continued to be a faculty in the Department of Chemistry, Prashanti Mandir Campus between 1991 and 2007. One of his biggest blessings during his tenure, apart from being a tutor in Swami's institution, was the grace of the Lord to bless him to be an officiating Pujari for 1 week during the April of 2007. He's associated a great deal with spreading the message of the Vedas, and we've already had the outset set from last week on the Vedas, how Swami brought in a speaker to come and talk literally on what would have been, I presume, the content of Dr. Anil Kumar's satsang. So let's see how the mystery continues of how Swami connects the dots where I do not know, this is not a soap opera, but the way he connects the message is as if he tells you where is the break for today and where we take off next week. So looking forward to hearing Dr. Anil Kumar. Sai Ram to you, sir.
Sai Ram, Brother Venkatraman, with prayerful pranams at the lotus feet of our ever merciful Bhagawan, the one who is the closest to all of us and who is all the time with all of us, invoking Bhagawan's presence during this satsang. At the very outset, I would like to thank you all for giving me this opportunity to think about our Lord, ruminate on his glory, understand his message, as we keep thinking more and more about what Swami has been telling us and what Swami had done during his physical presence. It gives so many insights, and each time I try to take part in the satsang, it's actually a learning for me more than what I can say is it's actually a revelation, a joy to and try to think what should I say first. It starts with that. So similarly, when this Venkatraman brother said there's an opportunity for you, I was every morning we go to Shivam. We have 6:30 to 7 Vedam. We chant almost similar to what happens in Puttaparthi, but shorter version, not full Chamakam, but Namakam, third para of Chamakam and Purusha Suktam. So I was praying to Bhagavan, what should I tell Swami, what should I say? which experiences you have to guide. And I think, as brother has been just saying, and the thought that came to my mind sitting there in the mandir was, you speak about Vedam and how Bhagawan is described in Vedam. So it's actually thrilling as I was sitting and trying to, because we used to experience this. We were blessed from 2003. I think all of you know the Darshan music was changed to Vedam as soon as Swami steps out of the then Purnachandra. The residence was Purnachandra. Later, it is the Yajur Mandir. Whenever Bhagawan is to step out for darshan, we start the Omkaram, and Vedam boys were told to chant the Vedam. And so the Vedam initially from 2003 to 2007, it was as long as Swami is in Kulwant Hall. That means till Swami goes back to Yajur Mandir. From the time Swami leaves Yajur Mandir and comes and goes back, we have to continuously keep chanting. And Swami is to encourage and to make it known to everyone that Swami loves Vedam. Swami is to really come and sit on the stage of Kulwant Hall and spend hours together listening to us. And we were, as you all know, we are also, I would say, novices with respect to the knowledge of Vedam or Vedam chanting. But all the same, Lord is so gracious, and that is the way he encourages Vedam. It was a real experience, which is, when we look back, it's quite thrilling. What we used to do was, initially we used to repeat, because Swami used to sit for quite long and we didn't have enough mantras or suktas that we could chant to without repetition for that long, and Swami used to continue to sit. So we used to come back to the first suktam and so on. It used to go on, right? So later on, every evening after the darshan gets over, bhajan gets over, in the same Kulwant Hall, we used to sit and quickly pick up one more suktam so that we can chant something new for Bhagawan next day. So like that, over a period of time, Swami ensured that we could last for 3.5 hours, 4 hours, now to 6 hours and more, without repetition. So that is how Swami trained us. We, in fact, learned from each other, we got some experts to come and teach us. And so, but then the most beautiful aspect, which used to thrill us, most of us, because Sanskrit is not very difficult language for Indians. Most of our languages are connected to Sanskrit. Most of the words are similar words, right? And therefore, though we don't understand word to word exact meaning, we still can relate to the overall meaning of Vedam. And it used to be a thrilling. Even now, when I sit back and think of it, it was such a wonderful opportunity. Bhagavan sitting on the stage and we sitting right in front of him. And in fact, Bhagavan has been described in Vedam so in such clear, explicit manner. Only when we were chanting and seeing him having his darshan simultaneously, we realized every word of what has been said in Vedam becomes a reality when we see Bhagavan. So, for example, in the Sri Suktam, Swami used to like Sri Suktam a lot. Swami used to ask us to chant Sri Suktam. We get the I'll chant initial part of it till where it becomes very relevant for our discussion today. Om Hiranyavarnam Harinim Suvarnarajatasrajam Chandram Hiranmayim Lakshmim Jatavedo Maavaha Tam Maavaha Jatavedo Lakshmimanapagamini Yasyam Hiranyam Vindeyam Gamashvam Purushanaham Ashwapurvam Radhamadhyam Hastinadha Prabodhinim Shriyam Devi Mupahva Shrirma Devir Chushatam Kamso Smitam Hiranya Prakaram Artram Jwalantim Truptam Tarpayantim Padme Sthitam Padmavarnam Tamiho Pahvahe Shriyam. If you see the meaning of the last two lines, Kamso Smitam, one who is having beautiful smile. Kamso Smitam Hiranya Prakaram, who is sitting in a place which has the ceilings of gold. Then we realize why Swami got Kulwant Hall plated, the ceiling got plated with gold flakes, because mother is seated in Hiranya Prakara. So Kulwant Hall is actually Hiranya Prakara, right? Because it is the one which has the roofing. Prakaram is actually the roof, right? The ceiling is Hiranya, that is golden ceiling, right? So Hiranya Prakaram, see, every word fits so perfectly. Hiranya Prakaram, Ardram Jwalanti, one who is effulgent because of Ardra. Ardra is compassion. How true for Bhagawan. When Swami is sitting and we watch Swami, it's really the Ardram Jwalantim, the effulgence of Bhagawan is because of that extreme compassion. In fact, this is what earlier, if I remember, it was I think Kutumbrao Garu's Mrs. One Swami called them for interview, and then Swami said, "What do you want to Mrs. Kutumbrao?" She was about to respond, and Bhagavan said, "I have taken avatar for you all. What more do you want?" That is the compassion. What more compassion, really? If you have to really understand the compassion of the Lord, we don't need to give too many instances of his love and glory. Of course, there are many such instances, but more importantly, the very reason for Bhagavan to descend is because of his compassion for all of us. Otherwise there's no need for him to descend onto this earth, right? So Bhagavan made it so clear with just one word, one sentence. I have taken avatar, and that is, what more do you require, really? That's the crux of what we all enjoyed. Because if we really had to digress a little from this Veda and how it describes Bhagavan, how Veda Mata describes Bhagavan, if we really see, the compassion the compassion is not just love. The Bhagwan's compassion is associated with a message, associated with always an insight for each one to progress and finally become or reach the goal for which all of us are born, or reach his lotus feet, or become him, right? So all the time Swami used to, his compassion was linked to this. Just to give you an instance, recently I heard this experience. It's amazing. I'm still, the more I think of it, I can't, it just doesn't, not able to accept that at a human level, someone could be so very compassionate. It seems Bhagavan was, this happened outside of Patti. I don't remember which place it's exactly. But Bhagavan was, after the program got over, Bhagavan was getting into the car. And Sevadals are so enthusiastic. And especially when any one of us see, for that matter, see Bhagavan in such close quarters, you are thrilled. You really don't know what you're doing. And Sevadals are utmost thrilled because they have been waiting for an opportunity like that for years. And all of us have been, but Sevadal gets that opportunity. Students get it more often. Sevadal gets it once in a while. So this Sevadal was so thrilled seeing Swami. So he was asked to stand near the car. And this Sevadal was so thrilled seeing Swami in such close quarters. As soon as Swami got into the car, he wanted to do something for Bhagavan. So he just closed the door. He just ran forward and shut the door. And the Sevadal in charge who was accompanying Bhagavan, sat behind in the car. And he actually observed that something was not done properly. But Swami his face was just normal. He could see part of Swami's robe was inside between the door and the car frame. but he thought it was only a rope, right? He couldn't say anything because Bhagawan he was blessing profusely that Sevadal. He was looking at the devotees. His face had no change, absolutely no change. So thrilled, and the whole glow in the face was so evident. So he didn't have um, the courage to say anything to Bhagawan, and the car left. And after the car left that venue, and as it was traveling, in midway, Swami, when there were no people around, no devotees around, Swami asked the driver to stop the car, opened the door, and pulled his leg inside. His couple of his part of his feet was between the door and the frame of the car. Imagine, for close to maybe 10-15 minutes. And then when that happened, Sevadal in charge and driver, everybody was so, they were in tears. They said, Swami, what is this? Then Swami said, see, I knew if I show any reaction, even the slightest of reaction, you will not let that Sevadal, means you will really take that Sevadal to task. You will unnecessarily hurt that Sevadal. The Sevadal did it out of his deep devotion for me. And therefore, how can I allow you? Even now, I do not have even the slightest thought of hurting that Sevadal in your mind. To ensure, see the compassion, to ensure that, and there's a lesson behind the kind of Kshama, fortitude, forbearance that we need to have. Bhagavan showed it in his real action. He said, because I don't want you to hurt him, I held on and I'm fine. Don't worry. Now you also do not think even one negative thought about that Sevadal. And similar instance, I saw it personally. This was in my first year degree, 1981. Ravishankar sir was there, and some of the Hyderabad boys, 9 of us actually, Swami was coming to Hyderabad, and 9 of us were asked to accompany Bhagawan. So we came with Bhagawan. That was in April time. And the temperatures in Hyderabad are really, they touch 40 plus degrees during that time. And Swami had gone out, and we were all waiting at Shivam. Swami had come back, and the Shivam steps entry, the eastern entry into the Mandir, Shivam Mandir. Now it is actually white marble, but at that time it was black granite stone, right? We were struggling to stand there. We were wanting to stand on either side of that entry, the steps, as Bhagawan goes inside the Mandir, Shivam Mandir. And we ourselves saw, we were trying to, we ran around to see if there was any carpet that we could put there. Nothing was available. We tried to put some water on that. And it was literally the minute we put water, it was so hot, it used to evaporate there from the black granite stone. And as we were trying all these things, Bhagavan arrived. So we couldn't do much. We had to just stand where we were, and Bhagavan's car came, and Swami got down, and right outside that eastern gate, about say 15 feet away, is the main road. So devotees thronged that area, and then all were shouting Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram. Swami got down from the car left, and Swami stood on that black granite, waving to these devotees. We were on the side, we were struggling to keep both our feet on the ground. We were a little moving one feet, another feet, and we were really, it was so hard. And Swami didn't show a slightest amount of pain there. He was standing normally, and he was waving to all these devotees. And then Swami went inside. So this is the compassion. This is the message of Bhagavan. What level of compassion we need to have. We need to be able to think about other person and what will be the reaction of everyone on any other person for that matter. So it's a very, that kind of, it's, I think, the pinnacle of fortitude, the pinnacle of compassion is what was shown by Bhagawan to all of us. And as I said, Avatar's descent that is why wonderful, because it is associated with message in every act of compassion. It is not just an act of compassion for the sake of compassion. It's an act of compassion which will take us on our path of spiritual journey. So there's a message in every act of compassion of Bhagawan. That's the unique thing of Bhagawan's love and compassion. So coming back to what Vedamata has said in Sri Suktam, Ardram Jwalanti. Ardra is compassion. One who is effulgent because of the compassion. Ardram Jwalantim. Truptam Tarpayantim. One who is contented, really, completely contented. And Tarpayantim. One who is capable of taking us across the ocean of samsara. What perfect description of Bhagavan. Really, you just imagine, even now, you just sit down, look at Bhagavan's form, look at him seated royally on anything. It could be Swarnaratham, it could be Kulwant Hall, it could be Sai Ramesh Hall, wherever, it doesn't matter really. But imagine Swami sitting on the stage, on the throne in a royal manner, and then you correlate this meaning of this Veda mantra, and you find that every word is perfectly suited for Bhagavan. Similarly, in Durga Suktam, we have Tam Agnivarnam Tapasa Jwalantim Vairochanim Karma Phale Sujushtam. Tam Agnivarnam. What is the color of the robe of Bhagavan? Agnivarnam only it is, right? It is orange. So the Tam Agnivarnam Tapasad Jwalanti. There Vedamata doesn't say Artram Jwalantim, it is Tapasad Jwalantim. One who is effulgent because of the tapas, right? So all the time, and like we heard Shirdi Baba in Satcharitra, we come across this statement. And near Bhagavan, we never ever, of course, all of us did see, most of us saw that. But Shirdi Baba used to all the time keep saying, he used to say that he used to constantly be chanting Allah Malik and Allah Tasnam. And in fact, he tells that I don't, even when I'm sleeping, I tell Mahal Sapati to listen to that name going on in my heart, put his ear on my chest and listen to that name. It comes in Satcharitra. And we also saw a number of boys, for that matter, we all of us saw Swami humming bhajans. In fact, many bhajans Swami has used to hum, especially in Brindavan. This was a common observation, at least when Swami used to come down that old bungalow steps and walk. We used to be near those windows. As soon as Swami comes out of this staircase, there were 3 windows, and of course we run and jostle with each other and finally get into those windows, put our hands to the windows so that we can reach him. And many a times I heard Swami humming bhajan before going for darshan. As he's going for darshan, he's actually humming bhajan. So and in fact, first time it was quite surprising, because Swami is saying himself Sai Ram, right? Like once I heard when we were working with some getting the clothes ready for Dasara, I heard Swami singing Shirdi Sai Dwarakamayi Prashanti Vasi Sai Ram. Swami saying Sai Ram it was first, I mean, it was a shock for me. Then I realized Swami is actually in that jovial mood of humming the bhajan. So Tapasat Jwalantim could also mean that constantly Bhagavan doesn't need to do tapas, nor does Durga Mata need to do tapas. But here what tapas means is that one who is in constant communion, one who is the eternal truth all the time, is always in tapas, right? So Tapasat Jwalantim, Vairochanim. Again, Vairochanim is very similar to Tarpayantim, one who can make us cross the ocean of samsara. Karma Phale Sujushtam, one who is the giver of the fruits of the action, and Jushtam, who is happy, thrilled. The same thing comes in Sri Suktam as what did we say? Truptam. There we said Truptam. Here it is Jushtam, right? Jushtam is one who is blissful. And every word, again, you imagine Bhagavan, every word fits perfect to Bhagavan. So similarly in Rudram, if we see every statement there can be correlated to Bhagavan. In fact, I think Brindavan boys and old students know Swami had Rudra aspect too. It was not only Shiva aspect, Swami had Rudra aspect too, right? So it was later on Swami. This is something. This is my observation, just to share with all you brothers. I saw Bhagavan was quite Shiva type when in the 70s, maybe, and I heard from my parents and Ramabrahmam sir and even Kasturi sir's writing in Loving God, you will come across that Swami used to be very angry. Swami used to be sending out, in fact, I heard Chiranjeeva was sent out, Kutumbra was sent out, Ramabrahmam was sent out. Everybody was, means Swami gets upset, he say, you get out of the ashram. So Swami used to be so, it was the Shiva aspect. The typical Shiva nature was there in Bhagavan. In fact, even the Prashanti Mandir, if you all remember, the sands and the coconut trees and the old mandir, the Prashanti Mandir during our college times, was more like the ashram. The Shiva Tattva was there. And as we move on, as Swami's mission moved on, right? His sojourn on this earth moved on. You see, it changed to Kulvanthal. Kulvanthal is Hiranya Prakaram, and there are lions which have come. Lions on either side on the stage indicate the Shakti aspect, right? There's glitter all around. There is gold all around. There is the Shakti aspect. The ashram, this one gave way to very naturally Shakti aspect has come in. And even in Bhagavan's way of the behavior, we can't say behavior for God, but the way Swami is to interact also, you can see it was more of motherly aspect in the later part of Swami's sojourn here. It was more of Shiva aspect in the early aspect. So Swami had a lot of the Shiva Tattva and Rudra Tattva initially. So Rudra is actually the description of both the Rudra and the Shiva aspect, Ghora and the Aghora aspect, right? So both of them finally do good. It's only for the good of the individual and the Loka Kalyanam that the Rudra aspect happens, right? But then, like Swami once explained, unless you have a storm in the ocean, you can't have rain on the land. So you need to have Rudra for the Shiva to happen, right? The prayer in Rudram is exactly to keep the Rudra aspect away from where we are all living. So keep the storm where it's supposed to be, keep the normal rain where it's supposed to be. That's the prayer that we do in Rudram, right? And there are so many lines in Rudram that we come across which are perfect, again, perfect correlation to Bhagavan, and we can quickly relate. Like we have Namah Krishna Vita Yadhavate Sattvanam Pataye Namaha. This comes in the very second Anuvakam, end of second Anuvakam, right? Namah Krishna Vita Yadhavate Sattvanam Pataye Namaha means one who runs to take care of his devotees. Krishna Vita Dhavate Sattvanam Pataye Namaha, who comes running to protect his devotees. And one instance here, I think this was sometime in again 2000, around 2000s, 2001 to 2004, probably during that time. Bhagavan came back from darshan, and as he was coming, Bhagavan was not carrying any letters in his hand. Very unusual, right? So as Bhagavan was climbing up onto the stage of Kulvanthal after the darshan, all students and faculty were sitting. Swami looked at all the faculty and students and said, I decided not to take any letters, especially from students. I'll not take any letters anymore. Then, Professor K.Anil Kumar sir was that way, had that courage to quickly ask Bhagavan. in a very nice way. So he immediately said, Bhagawan, one small prayer. Swami said, what is the prayer? And he said, Swami, how can devotees or students convey to you their whatever their prayer is? If you do not take the letter, how can they convey? And Swami said, why they are simply, they keep on writing all kinds of things. The students, I don't want to take too many letters also, and there's so much post is coming. I can't take all these letters. Then he said, no, Swami, there may be a marriage in the house. There may be some urgency in the house. Swami, you should take letter. How do they convey to you, Swami? No, they can tell me physically. They can come close and tell me what is there. Why should they give a jabu? Jabu, Swami used to say, no, letter. Why should they give? Then he used a statement immediately. This conversation was going on like this, and then Anil Kumar said, Swami, suppose if there is an emergency in anyone's family, how will they reach out to you, Swami? If they are sitting in some fourth line somewhere back, how can they come forward? How can they tell you, Swami? So Swami should take letters. Then Swami suddenly, I was witness to this. Swami was normally speaking. Suddenly, Swami cupped his hands behind, stood in a royal way there, and he said, how can there be emergency in my devotees' life? Even before there is emergency, I will help them. I will protect them. Namah Kritsnavita Yadhavate Sattvanam Pataye Namaha. This is what is Bhagavan. He said, how can there be emergency in my devotees' life? There cannot be any emergency. So what is the need for them to give me a letter? Again, Swami came back to that. Then again, every boy and everyone started pleading, no, Swami, no, Swami. And Swami slowly walked into the interview. So this is how we see that Vedamata, every statement that Vedamata has said in almost every suktam, every mantram that is there, is to the last syllable true when we look at Bhagavan and Bhagavan's life. And the more we try to correlate this, there's so much joy, really. We tend to see Bhagavan in a perspective, at least that's what I'm feeling, which is far more deeper, which we tend to understand the glory of the Lord. He is not just the way, it was his Leela all the time. At least I was caught up in whether Swami is looking at me or not looking at me, and those aspects. But then there's much greater aspect in that physical presence, right? Of having seeing Bhagavan in that glorious almighty form. In Purusha Suktam, the way he is described. In fact, Swami used to very often repeat Purusha Suktam along with all of us. When we are chanting, when some suktas used to come, Swami used to make it a point to start saying that suktam along with us, that mantram along with us. Purusha Suktam was one such, and one line which Swami used to very often, whether he chants the rest of it or not, this one he used to invariably say. The statement was it is about how the universal being, the Purusha, is tied down as the Pashu for the sacrifice. See, the sacrifice, the gods have arisen out of the Purusha. Then they do a sacrifice out of which all the creation comes about. That's the sequence, right? So for the sacrificial animal, who is the sacrificial animal? The same Purusha is the sacrificial animal. That is the description that comes there. Pashun Bandhan. I'll come back to you for that with that exact statement. So Swami used to repeat this very often to convey that sacrifice is so important for creation to happen. The very same Lord of the universe, the Purusha, Parama Purusha, becomes the sacrificial animal for the yajna that has to happen for the creation of the universe, right? because there's none else other than him. So finally, it is he himself becomes the sacrificial animal, and for the yajnam that's meant for the creation. So, and we see in Vishnu Suktam one beautiful um, sequence of statements that come, which give a very different perspective to Bhagavan. And it starts with Vishnu Pade Parame Madhva Utsaha Pradad Vishnustavate Vidyaya Mrugo Nabhiva Kucharo Girishtaha Yasyo Rishutrishu Vikramaneshu Adhikshiyanti Bhuvana Nivishta Paromatraya Tanuva Vridhana Vishnu Pade Parame Madhva Utsaha Pradad Vishnustavate Vidyaya. What it means is Vishnu is one who moves at tremendous speed, it seems, tremendous speed. And this concept of Vishnu's movement with tremendous speeds comes so many times in Vishnu Suktam. And if you correlate this, I was thinking, what is the speed? What is this fast moving description for Lord Vishnu? And the one correlation that I could quickly connect to was when I was going through Sai Satcharitra, Shirdi Baba tells, first ask the devotees to do Nama Saptaha, 7 days Nama Saptaha during Sri Ramanavami. And Kaka Dikshit asks Baba, Baba, will Vitthal appear before us if we do this Nama Saptaha? See, always all of us are result oriented, right? So immediately the mind goes to what Falashruti more than the actual action. First we look at the Phala. What is the Phala? Then we do the action. So same was Kaka Dikshit's approach. He said, Bhagwan, Baba will Vitthal appear. Then Baba said, what? Vitthal appearing from somewhere? Vitthal is very much here. If you are sincere, he will appear. But a beautiful statement after that. Baba says, he is very truant fellow. Catch him firmly, otherwise he'll give you a slip, he'll run away. Really, if you see in our efforts of all of us, I'm sure we try to capture Bhagavan in our mind's eye, close our eyes and try to picturize him. And we see that he is all the time fast moving. He is rarely available for us to hold on, right? He's really, like Baba described, he's a truant fellow, runs away quite fast. What is given in Vishnu Suktam, what Vedamata has already said, he is fast moving, and therefore to hold on to him, either we need to move at the same speed, or he has to condescend, he has to show his compassion and become still, like in Shiva is described in Rudram as Thanave, right? He becomes still to make us hold on to his form, right? This is where again Vedamata only says this, Anoraniyan Mahato Mahiyan Atma Guhayan Nihitosya Janto Tamah Kratum Pashyati Vita Shoko Dhatu Prasadan Mahimanamisham. The one who is Anoraniyan, we can see him, we can become free of our sorrow by visualizing or seeing his form only dhatu prasada, only because of his grace. The reason is he's so fast moving, he's so truant, to put it in the words of Shirdi Baba, he's so slippery, right? The only way we can really hold on is only if he condescends to, this is what is said in Kena Upanishad, Atma reveals itself to one whom it chooses. So it's not that we put effort and therefore we realize ourselves. It has to be a grace. That's where Swami used to always say, Purusha Prayatnam along with Daiva Krupa. God's grace is the final one which actually makes the result happen. the final goal be reached. So this thing comes, this whole refrain of all this what we are discussing comes in Upanishads throughout. That there is, he is everywhere, he is, in fact, he is everything. But you don't tend to see or visualize him. In fact, in one of the suktas in Mahanyasam, it comes as Paroksha Priya Ivahi Devaha Atman Atman Ityamantrayata Paroksha Priya Ivahi Devaha. It's never, he is never visual, he can never be visualized with normal aksha, means the physical eyes. He is always paroksha. Even in all the miracles, in fact, many a times I feel constantly miracles are, or Swami's presence is happening in our life day in and day out. Like Brother Venkatraman said, the whole sequence of the satsangs is as though the dots are being connected, right? So it's every act of ours, there is his will behind, there is his presence behind. But many a times, because he is paroksha, he is not pratyaksha, he is not clearly seen doing it, we miss out. It's because we don't give attention, we are not feeling the presence of Bhagavan. It's a very powerful thought. I want you all to think on this. The more we give, in fact, even at Bharti, I think even Brindavan, especially old bungalow. I'm sure if Ravi Shankar sir, Gopi's brother, all will know. Bhagavan used to give darshan from many rooms upstairs. Right, so right from bedroom to dressing room to outside sitting room, even for that matter, even from the dining room. And these windows had curtains, and Swami used to very often just open a curtain for a fraction of a moment and then close it. And we had to be attentive to know that Bhagavan has seen, or to see Bhagavan, or to have his darshan, right? So many a times, the more we used to give attention, the more we used to put it in simple terms, when our eyes used to meet, we could be sure that evening Bhagavan will come and speak or say something. If we miss out, Bhagavan would have seen. But so this attention, Swami is to make it clear, even in his physical presence with all of us, that the more you give attention to his physical presence, the more he's to respond to us. Right? So the same thing I think we need to continue even now. The more we are able to give attention to him, the more we will be able to see his presence in our lives. It's not that it is not there, it's always there, but it is just that we aren't giving the attention necessary. When physically we were giving that much attention. Hours together we used to be standing for Bhagavan's darshan in Brindavan. And hours together we used to be sitting for darshan in Parthi, right? It's sitting in Parthi and standing in Brindavan. That's the only difference. But hours and hours we used to spend waiting with absolute attention. In fact, when Bhagavan darshan, we don't talk about darshan actually. Darshan itself, if you sit back and think, is such a wonderful experience which has been given out of immense compassion to all of us. Imagine the kind of stillness it used to be waiting for Bhagavan to open the door. Especially when Bhagavan was in Prashanti Mandir, the room boys, Khaldas ji and whoever were room boys, whether it was Kote or anyone else, used to come out and sit. And after that, there was a pause. So I used to not immediately follow them. There was a pause, and everyone's attention was full, complete, total attention towards that interview room door. When will that latch go down, right? So that kind of attention, stillness, and Bhagavan is to come, glide through the devotees, and to one he will be smiling, to another it will be a frowning face, to another it will be ignoring to someone else, taking a letter. But in that one round of darshan, Bhagavan would have responded to so many prayers. Each darshan is a miracle. Imagine who can respond to so many prayers in a matter of few minutes, right? Again, it's baffling. A mind can't yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasasaha. Mind can't really fathom this glory, this kind of power. One darshan and so many thousands and prayers were used to be answered. And how does it happen really? Because every moment he's actually answering. In that darshan, we used to become more attentive to his answering our prayer. It was just that. It was always, even now it is happening that he's answering our prayers, he's with us. But our attention, our ability to understand that he has done it is lacking. So that's why Vedamata said, Paroksha Priya Iva Hi Devaha. He loves to be Paroksha. Through our effort and sadhana, we have to make him Pratyaksha. And I think in making that Paroksha to Pratyaksha, there is our growth involved in it. And that is why Bhagavan allows it to be Paroksha, so that we put that effort to make him Pratyaksha. And in the process, we grow and finally reach. Like Swami said, he is only concerned with taking us back to the goal from where, the source from where we have all come. Like Shirdi Baba and Incredible Sai Baba, it is said, Shirdi Baba says he is like the hound. Whatever word Bhagavan uses, Bhagavan says he is the hound who will be after, I will be after you till you get Atma Sakshatkara, for lives together. So it's not that we have association with him for one life. In fact, I recollect a beautiful experience here. This was during the Paduka Puja time. One of the Paduka Puja years, I don't remember which year, but I was there in the gathering. So I remember this instance. Dr. Gadia was asked to speak before Bhagavan. So, and in the introduction, Dr. Gadia, the person who was introducing Dr. Gadia said, Dr. Gadia is not only connected to Bhagavan in this avatar, he is connected to even Shirdi Baba avatar. Apparently, Dr. Gadia is, I think, grandson or some connection to Mr. Dikshit, who was with Shirdi Baba. So he made that statement, and Dr. Gadia, after which Dr. Gadia spoke, and then Swami got up to for his divine message. And Bhagavan, after his initial introductory poem that Bhagavan tells, Swami said, see, that person introduced Dr. Gadia saying that he is connected to me from my earlier avatar. Let me tell you, it is not only Dr. Gadia. All of you, Swami was saying this in Kulwant Hall, not in TV room. Swami was saying it in Kulwant Hall, jam-packed Kulwant Hall. Swami said, all of you are connected with me for lives. That is why you have come to me. So it is not an association which is an association which is just happening now for this life. It is an association which has been there and will be there till we finally merge in it. The only confidence that we need to take is that it's a wonderful reassurance that when Shirdi Baba says, I am like the hound who will be after you till you reach your goal. So that is our fortune, that we are associated with him, and we will certainly, he will be with us now and forever, right? Till we become him. That's the final goal for all of us, final journey for all of us. All of us will make it. The reason we will make it is because he is behind. He is behind with us, above us, all along, and he will lead us on. And so that's our singular fortune that all of us have, is having come to him and having told him that we are yours. I think that's all is enough for us. We don't need to do anything further beyond that. We have said once we are yours, and rest, I think Bhagavan will take the journey. He will lead us on. So this is I think the saga of love that each of us have with him. And each time we think about Bhagawan, ruminate on his interaction with all of us, each time a new revelation or a new thought or a new perspective comes to our mind, right? Which makes us get thrilled for that period of time. So I think this continuous rumination, we get so many. That is how I think, sitting back and thinking now, I realize that is how Tyagaraja could write so many kritis, because the more you think, the more different ideas, different perspectives you will get, and then you express that. He was blessed with the ability to express that. So he could express it, and he could write. I hear he wrote lakhs and lakhs of kritis, right? So that is because when each time you think of the Lord and his compassion, there's a different, newer perspective. Nitya Nutana, we say. That is where Bhagwan's, in fact, one of the quality of Bhagwan, of divinity, is Nitya Nutana. There's never a the old, or there's nothing means already known aspect with Bhagwan. That is the reason why we used to see Bhagwan one moment, darshan gets over, and still we'll be waiting eagerly to see whether interview room will open, door will open again. Will Swami cross this way? There was never a moment any devotee used to take his or her eyes away from Bhagwan. Though having seen him in the morning, afternoon, evening, still we would like to see him again, because he was Nitya Nutana. The attraction was because it was constantly fresh, constantly new, constantly glorious. That aspect of him continues even in our rumination of him, in our memories or memoirs of trying to think of him. That aspect of Nitya Nutana continues, and that is where we get, each time we think of him or speak about his glory, we get that joy. So these are the thoughts I thought I will share with all of you. Once again, thanking you all, and it is such a wonderful thing to see all my seniors, my respected teachers also here. Thanks a lot, really, for this wonderful opportunity. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, Anil.
Sai Ram, sir.
You took me back about 40 years,
Sir.
I tell you one or two instances.
Yes, sir.
Because there's some time now.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
You were a very lanky, small, short and lean boy in your PUC. I remember Swami, for
yes,
Swami's
darshan.
Yeah, Swami's darshan, when you used to give darshan near the grill gate, grill that side.
Yes,
some
sir.
boys
Yeah.
used to, we could see from this side that Swami is giving darshan there. So you people used to be in front of the bungalow, and
Yeah.
from bungalow, I have
Yes, sir.
seen you people run, in between that bungalow's front side and that grill gate side. There'll be a lot of bushes and flower pots and so many things,
Yeah.
You people used to close your eyes and run, to that other side. Remember it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Really? Fantastic, Anil.
Amazing.
So nice. So
amazing time, sir. That was.
Thank you, Sai Ram.
Thank you, sir. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram. Satyana, I think the last two satsangs, I would say, everyone has got a certain aspect of how the messages come across. At least for me, I will not forget those lines that you were able to relate and bring the effulgence of Swami through the lines in the suktams. As you said, we all, when we connect the dots, we need to move forward to see how the dots are connected, and then we find that it's a fine thread. There's no dot anymore; it's one straight line. and there's nothing as straight as it can be, right? I mean, it might go through different journeys, but it's a beautiful straight line, and the dots are so wide apart, but then it brings us together. It's a good time. I think we have another, it'll be nice if we can, I don't know, if the Gopi is in a position, it'll be nice to try and...
Is it to Gopi? Yeah.
Is Gopi, the Gopi around? Yeah, I think he's... Maybe no. I was just trying to think if you people can try and get some nostalgia aspect of it from the Brindavan old Mandir days. I think we've heard Neil talk about some wonderful incidents that have happened there. I think a couple of others have shared, especially the windows, and I think someone else shared how Swami will check whether he's dressed fine for
Yeah.
darshan.
That
Yeah,
last time I had told. I
you
said that
showed,
last time. So yeah.
you spoke
Yeah.
about that last time. The checking of whether I'm dressed
Yeah.
perfectly to go
In
out. And
safe room, there used to be
yeah,
a big
in a
mirror in
correct.
that as part of the wall had an almirah and it had a mirror there, right? So Swami used to come there and check, make his hair normal. And at that time, he used to ask, how is my robe? Is it crumpled at the back?
I think I do not know whether it was Dr. Neil Bordloy. They were talking about some other room where there will be a lot of things stored. I don't know what that room was. I think it's a safe room only, right? There were a lot of, some other incident came from this. The safe room has got a lot of stories, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Oh, yeah. Safe room was the place where Swami used to sit and, what should I say, relax. That's not the right word, but then the closest word. Swami used to, yeah, okay. So, and Bhagawan used to be in Brindavan those times. Bhagawan was any time and all the time available. He used to go upstairs, but then there was no fixed time. So I used to come down quite often, even in the afternoons. It was so Bhagawan was accessible, completely accessible. And we used to be literally to get his attention at every point of time. That was the only thought in the mind. There was nothing else. The only thought.
But you also brought a beautiful point. I mean, when you probably had all those opportunities, there was a longing for more opportunities, but you never realized that how valuable it was until you don't have a possibility to go and reconnect, right? I mean, that's the beauty of.
No, many a times Bhagawan, out of his compassion, even used to do that also. He used to make someone talk there, given especially elders. And then Swami used to say, you are all getting wonderful opportunity. You are not realizing what this opportunity is. Means indirectly telling us this is something which is not that I'm just a human being sitting here. Though we knew it, still our attention was, are you looking at me? Are you talking to me? Are you giving me attention? That's all it was. That was out of love, of course, for Bhagawan. It was not that we used to be constantly awed with the divinity aspect of it.
Absolutely.
We used to love Bhagawan, that's all. Like I'll tell you one instance in that, I think that was my first time I saw Swami being so casual, means so simple. In Brindavan, we had this practice of after bhajans that happen inside, there will be a distribution of prasad, right? And every day. And at that time, when I was a student, they used to make mixture. Very often, it used to be commonly mixture coming from hostel, right?
Okay.
So it used to come in buckets. So, and students were given opportunity to serve by turns. So that day, it was my turn to take the mixture bucket, get it blessed by Bhagavan. Swami used to bless it in safe room, and then Swami used to go up upstairs, and we'll continue serving. So as Swami came into safe room, I was standing in the bucket, a plastic bucket with mixture in it, right? And Bhagavan started speaking to, if I remember right, Gangadhar Shetty, some elderly devotee. Swami was speaking to them. And so conversation was going on. I don't know, I don't remember what the conversation was. Some conversation was going on between Bhagavan and the elderly devotee. And I took the bucket, young at that time, don't think that Swami is speaking, don't go. All these aspects aren't there. So I went along with the bucket. Just Bhagavan. Swami looked at me with his left hand, he picked up groundnuts, which are on the surface of the right, and put it in his mouth. And something triggered in my mind. I took that ladle that is there, and turned the mixture in such a way that more groundnuts come on the top, right? And Swami picked up some more. It was such a simple setting, right? Swami was standing with a bucket and churning with one hand. I was holding the bucket, other hand using the ladle to mix the mixture, and so that more groundnuts come. And Swami was continuing picking up those fried groundnuts and eating them, right? And continuing to talk to Gangadhar Shetty. It was such a thrilling thing for me. Swami didn't say, towards the end, Swami looked at me, smiled and went. That's it. He didn't say anything to me, but that's a instant which got etched in my memories. What a wonderful and so simple Bhagavan is. He's not that he wants it offered in a very proper manner and all that. This was, I was not even offering with my hands. It was a plastic bucket. So that simple Bhagavan is really.
Wonderful, wonderful, sir.
That is how Swami is to break the barriers of that God, devotee, and really get close enough to all of us.
Absolutely. I think you were all at a perfect age where he could be the mother, father, but then when you, I would say you come in where he is the mother and father, but as you leave that he is your best friend. I mean, that's, I guess that's
not
education.
Just friend, but Guru also.
Guru is automatic. The Guru is that after effect of it. You long for him to be the friend, but then the Guru is what you realize him to be as time progresses. Beautiful, sir. Wonderful. I can't thank how the last 2 weeks have panned to be. I'll tell you. I do not know whether you're aware. We were frantic running for a speaker, and I don't know. And we had someone from your group speaking last week. And the ambience was set to exactly come to this, like why Vedas? I don't know, the structure of a speech. If you want the message to go out, Brother Sudhindran spoke last week, sir.
Okay.
So he spoke on Vedas again. It was I didn't know what his topic was. I didn't tell him you were the speaker who could have spoken. And then he became the speaker out of nowhere. And the topic was Vedas. And then finally, after giving all the magnificence, you come back and relate to the essence of it, describing nothing but Swami. I mean, I do not know how beautiful it can turn out to be. Yeah, Satya Anna. These two satsangs are customized for Satya Anna.
No. First of all, my apologies to Brother Anil Kumar for really pestering you. But I think now I translate it to be prayers, brother. I think it was prayers that Swami wanted to answer, And what a beautiful way for him to say that, like we have been talking about Vedas and we've been chanting Vedas, but as you rightly said, we have not been visualizing Swami in that, So that's such a beautiful lesson that we have learned. Can you just share with us, if you don't mind, that period when suddenly Swami had this direction of having all his devotees to start learning the Vedas. Till that point of time, it was for a very few, right?
Yeah.
Even as devotees, we used to just come there. It was just part of the itinerary, that's all. Like we never thought it is something meant for us or even capable of getting into that. Can you share with us that period, that experience, brother, of how suddenly I remember Swami one evening called and said, chant in front of everybody.
So 2003, we just got a message that from next day darshan, we should be chanting, and it was only evening darshan. We got a message that from next day evening darshan, when Bhagawan comes out of Purnachandra, we should start Vedam. So we were little, we practiced all the sukta. That time we did not know a large amount, and the group got together and we started chanting. And to tell you more details about it, we were chanting it as swasti. Means one line will chant, one group will chant, another line, another group will chant, because we thought we'll last long enough doing this without losing our shruti. So Bhagawan came and Bhagawan sat on, came onto the dayas, Kulwant Hall dayas, sat and was listening. And then Swami said, why are you chanting Swasti? Change it to chanting together. All of you chant everything. So it was initially Vedam boys only. We were all sitting and chanting loudly. And Swami used to also say, louder, louder, louder. So towards the, in fact, initially when we started chanting end of the darshan session, we did not have voice enough to speak to each other because there was no voice coming out with normal effort. Unless we put that full effort, no voice was coming out. So because vocal cords weren't used to chanting that long at that high pitch. But Swami made it happen. And then after a few weeks, Swami said, morning darshan also you should chant. So that's how morning, evening started. Then Swami started saying, it's not only Vedam boys who should chant, all the students should chant. In fact, I remember once Bhagawan had come for darshan. He was on the Kulwant Hall dais, and then he saw some of the frontline boys not chanting. Vedam boys were sitting on one side, next to us where the normal the students were sitting. They didn't know that mantra, so they were not chanting probably, or they knew but they were not chanting. I am not too sure about that. But Swami saw that, and Swami said, Swami got so upset. Apparently, he said, warden he called. He said, send out every boy. No one should sit in the front who does not chant Vedam loudly. I don't want anyone to sit here who doesn't chant Vedam loudly. గట్టిగా చెప్పేవాళ్ళే ముందు కూర్చోవాలి. Only people who chant loudly should sit in the front. Otherwise, send them out. And having known Vedam, if you are not able to chant it, what a misfortune it is. Swami was in a mood, blasted everyone out. And that sent a message that everyone has to learn and everyone has to chant loud. So then Swami said, all devotees should learn. Swami expanded slowly. And my own understanding to this is, see, Vedam is learned. This question very often we are asked. Why is it that Vedam is actually, it has a lot of restrictions earlier, right? It should not be chanted by women. It should not be chanted by everyone. Only few should chant. All these restrictions were there. So then Swami threw it open and said, everyone should learn. And no difference of caste, community, region, gender, nothing. Everyone should learn. It's a birthright of everybody. Then because this question has been constantly being asked by so many, how is it that you all do this? I was ruminating on this, and the understanding that I got was that Vedam is learned for three purposes. Mainly we learn it for three purposes. One is for Karma Kanda. In fact, it is given by Vedamata only, not that it's my thought. Karma Kanda, Upasana, and Jnana. There are three aspects to Vedam. Karma, Upasana, Jnana. Right? We have Karma Kanda, we have Upasana Kanda, we have Jnana Kanda. Right? So Karma Kanda is rituals. Upasana is Parayanam, Veda Parayanam. You do Parayanam, you ruminate on the meaning. And finally, Jnana. One who is into the spiritual path has to take, to understand the Atma, has to take to the Shruti, right? So that is Jnana Kanda. So ritualistic things. See, Swami, if you observe Bhagawan, he never got any puja done by anybody else other than that community. Even to this day, Abhishekam goes on inside Parthi Mandir, Prashanti Mandir, right? It is done only by, right from Sheshagiri Rao's time, every day Shivarchana happens in Mandir, right? And Dasara Puja is done. Swami got it done by Pujaris only. He is getting it done by Pujaris only. Swami didn't say everyone can do puja, please go and do puja. No. So what Swami opened out Veda for is for Upasana and Jnana. For Parayana purpose and for Jnana, which everyone is allowed to. You don't need Nishtha for this. You don't need lot of restrictions of life for doing Upasana and Jnana. Whereas for doing Karma Kanda, you need to have that Nishtha, you need to have Shaucham. Shaucham means, in fact, it comes in Sri Suktam towards the end. What's that statement? I'm not getting the. If I have the 1 second, if you give me a moment, I'll just tell you. In Sri Suktam, it comes towards the end, where it specifically said they have to be chanted with Shuchi. With Shuchi, this has to be chanted. Towards the end of the 15 slokas, it comes. Yashuchih prayato bhutva juhyada jamanvaham. Yashuchih prayato bhutva juhyada jamanvaham. Shriyah panchadasa chancha Sri Kama Satatam Japet. If those 15 couplets which have preceded this line are chanted, Yashuchih prayato bhutva, in the morning with Shuchi, then you will get the phala. So these have to be, when you are doing it as a ritual for a particular kamya, for a particular result, for a particular phala. When is it done? When you do vrata, when you do puja, when you do a homa or a yajna, it's always done with a sankalpam, right? So karma kanda is phala oriented, and to make that happen, you need to have shuchi, you need to have nishta. So this everyone cannot have because of their lifestyles, because of their profession, because of their occupation, right? So only a set of people can do this, whose profession is doing that. So they will maintain that shuchi and that nishta naturally. So karma kanda, even if you see in Swami's life, is his message. If you see Swami's what Swami has done, he never allowed yajna yaga adi kratus to be done by everybody, abhishekam to be done by everybody, right? He did only opened out the Vedas for upasana and jnana. So Veda Parayanam, everybody has the right to do Veda Parayanam. Everybody has the right to read the meaning of Veda, understand it, and correlate it to our own lives. That is Jnana Kanda, right? So these two aspects are universal. Why should we restrict these two aspects? We should not, in fact. While we should also take care that Karma Kanda, we should restrict, because it has to be done with a particular kind of regulation of life, which all may or may not have. So you need, if someone is able to regulate and live like that, they are also free to do all the karma kanda. So if we see Bhagawan's message, karma kanda was never opened out for everyone. When Swami said everyone should learn Vedam, Swami didn't follow it up by saying, let Dasara be done by everybody, let Yaga be done, Yajna be done by everyone. No, he called the same set of pujaris from somewhere else, right? Got it done. He didn't say students can go and conduct the Dasara, right? When Swami has given so many things for students to do, why is it that Dasara part of actually doing the Dasara Yajnam was never given to students? Right? One could have thrown it open to students too, no? Right? He didn't, because that is what we need to understand, that Karma Kanda requires Nishta.
I think only the Veda Purusha knows that while there are three components, it was getting restricted to only one also in the world.
Yeah.
It was getting restricted to just being a ritualistic element.
Yes.
Whereas everything that we need to know in our life is all contained in those Vedas, which is that jnana and the upasana, right? Yeah. And that was completely getting lost, isn't it? So yeah, I think for that, like you mentioned, that again is that extreme compassion.
Yes.
That the Lord Himself has to come down, and if He had, I think, told us about the knowledge, we wouldn't have maybe realized it, right? He just made us to do it, and then in the process, we started learning about it.
Yeah.
That's so profound, brother. Thank you, because this is the question that keeps coming up all the time, right?
No,
And
there was
whenever you chant, then you get into confrontations. Okay, the ritualistic part of the priest, everybody comes and says, no, 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 you're not supposed to do this. Then devotees get confused. Of
So
course, for us, we
Parayanam we
know
can do
Swami.
always. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. For us,
So,
Swami has said that. So what more do
yeah.
we want?
Yeah.
no,
Thank you so much. That was so beautiful.
I just want to add one more just for recording it. Last week after the satsang, while I was talking to Brother Sudhindran, I asked this point. I said, everything is fine, but if you don't understand what you're saying, why, how, is it purposeful if you don't understand and you chant? And he said, Swami gave an analogy for that.
Yeah.
And he
Lullaby.
described the lullaby. Why don't you say it? Let me
No, you say,
no, you should tell the
No, you
lullaby.
say it. No, it's fine.
So what I heard was, it was, I did not know it was a googly. I thought I was asking a smart question and trying to get away with, showing that much of interest to learning everything. But then Swami had this analogy of a lullaby, and he said, when a child cries, the mother instinctively goes and sings a lullaby. And there is no language, there is no grammar, there is nothing. It's just the mother singing. The child does not understand a word of what is being sung. But a crying child stops crying when it hears a lullaby. So it's all about learn it first. The understanding will flow like the lullaby. That is what I heard of Swami explaining this to, I think, the 8th standard or the 10th standard kids from the school were asked to learn this, and they were saying it was tough for them. And Swami said, just go about the process of learning first. So that was actually an answer.
In fact, another, if you look at it from this science perspective, there's a whole lot of healing healthcare that is coming up now, called as sound healing. You can Google it and see. There's a lot of sound healing that's coming. In fact, all the Tibetan gongs are all about sound healing, right? So sound has tremendous impact on our health and even on the mind. So Vedas are fundamentally vibrations which are sound, right? So there's a lot of effect. That's why Swami used to very often say, when these Vedas are chanted, the environment gets purified, right? So these vibrations have multiple. That's why in Vedam it is said, one who chants Rudradhyayi, wherever there is a Rudradhyayi, they cannot be famine in nearby his place. This is what Vedamata says. Means that Rudradhyay, one who chants Rudram, not only protects himself, but protects the community around. In fact, the 10th Anuvakam is all about that. The Asmin Grame Dvipadas Chatushpada we pray for. We pray for the 2-legged and the 4-legged in Asmin Grame. Asmin Grama can mean, it is the attitude of the person who is chanting. A Grama can mean just the village in which he is living. It can mean the state. It can mean the country. It can mean the globe. It's our limitation we put to Grama word, right? So it's a prayer for everyone. It's a prayer for the safety of the community, whole of the human race. So that's why Vedamata says, one who chants Rudradhyaya, exact poem, I don't remember it by heart, where Rudradhyaya lives, there can be no famine near the place. Means one who chants Rudram daily, there can be no famine there. So that means what, even whether Vedamata didn't say one who understands and chants. Vedamata would have said one who understands and chants it with full knowledge, right? Vedamata only said one who chants.
Correct.
Okay, so therefore sound itself has tremendous impact. The vibrations have tremendous impact on us and the environment, both.
All I can say is whatever you've said has got Brother Satya into certain vibrations mode, because for us, when he starts teaching, I think about 3-4 lessons only goes on the sound aspect of it. And it to a certain extent, it looks odd when someone keeps on emphasizing that it's a sound, but I think the whole process is the energy that it creates. When all of us can harmonize that sound, internalize that sound, and bring it out in a manner where the energy itself takes the whole healing into its own zone, which is what you just spoke about in terms of healing energy. Absolutely amazing. I do not know all answers, all those re-emphasis.
Brother Venkat, just sorry for one. I think Swami always insist on the intonation also. When
That's
you are
what
talking about sound, that
Yeah.
intonation, very, very, Swami was particular about. I think so. It's all connected together in terms of vibrations and the sound. Brother Anil Kumar, I think, can throw some light on that intonation aspect. When Swami, some incidents, one or two.
Oh yeah. Please see one thing. While Swami was very particular about how it is chanted, right? But Swami also, I also saw another aspect of Bhagawan. Swami also encouraged. See, while during the process of learning, right? It's not that you will get the correct intonation.
Right.
So we used to see that when the primary school children used to chant, they were all sometimes wrong intonations. But Swami's face used to be thrilled. He was full of joy when he used to see those children chanting, small, tiny tots chanting, right? It may not be the perfect intonation, but unless you get started, you can't reach to that perfection of getting the right intonation. So it should not become a deterrent for us to learn. I'm not getting the intonation right, therefore I can't chant it because it is wrong to chant without the right intonation. Therefore, I'll not get into it. It is the wrong way. Get into it. You may do initial mistakes. Doesn't matter. Bhagavan still loves it and enjoys it. Right? Move on to perfection. That should be the approach. Because this is saying that I'm not getting the right intonation and withdrawing is not the. Swami showed it by his actions clearly that it doesn't matter. Even if you chant a wrong intonation or even wrongly, not the right words, doesn't matter. Swami used to be thrilled. That is how he encouraged all of us. It was not that we had the right intonation, right words. Even to this day, I'm not too sure whether we are perfect enough. At least I am not, right? So Bhagavan encourages us to move on to that perfection.
I want to add something here. Brother Venkat Sridhar here.
Yes, Sai Ram, sir. Please go ahead.
Sairam,
Sairam.
Professor Anil. You hope you
Sairam,
remember
Sairam,
me.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sairam.
Sairam.
Commerce Department, Radha Swami.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sairam, sir.
Anil, there are two things that I would like to add actually. I think in the first instance when our ex-registrar and the present vice chancellor of the university, Chakravarti Garu, came to the campus, I think there was a chanting by the boys and all that. So after some time after the chanting was, Vedam chanting was over, I understand Swami took Chakravarti Garu inside, and Chakravarti Garu said, yeah, I appreciate that your students are, Chakravarti Garu, right? Very, very scientific person and all that. Okay. So he was the collector of Anandpur those days.
Yeah.
He said, Swami, your students have chanted very well, but do they know the meaning? And Swami said, the benefit of Vedas, you need not know the meaning actually. In fact, that is one point that I said. And regarding the sound vibration that Bhagavan has beautifully put in, Swami emphasizes a lot on, of course, other than Vedas is one good thing that Swami has done towards the later part of his avatarhood. One thing that Swami said was that cannot be any in the context of Ukraine and USSR, Russian conflict. I am talking about this. He says there cannot be any world war because my devotees are chanting the name of God, or they are doing the bhajans all over the world, 24/7 across different time zones and all. I thought I should intervene and just tell about it.
Yes, sir. That's true.
Absolutely. So all I can say is almost all the dots of what we hear Brother Satya every time teaching us whenever a new suktam starts, the emphasis going back to those reiterating points. The beauty of the last 2 weeks has been how the forbearance of the Lord in encouraging us to learn and making those mistakes so that you are in a path of journey that will ultimately lead you to that energies that need you to go through your day-to-day life, just like the satsang is, which is nothing but the chargers for us to keep our energy levels to cross each week as it comes. All I can say is gratitude to Swami for making this happen. He knows what we need, and he brings us the medicines for the week, the messages for the week, and nothing but gratitude to Swami for that.
Thanks to pandemic also, Brother Venkat. Thanks to pandemic also.
Pandemic is just a reminder that constant awareness of the Lord, and don't take me for granted.
Yes,
So just try and remind me.
I think
yourself.
that has brought the Sai devotees together for satsang. Actually, I think that online connectivity went on very high during.
I wouldn't say that it's also a time for us to introspect and reflect, right? We were all busy with our day-to-day mundane activities, that the importance of introspection would not dawn on us for the fact that you don't have time. I'm sure Brother Satya, if he starts his calls, getting his date completed would be given a choice, he will leave all the calls and be in satsangs the whole day. But then once there is our duty-bound work that keeps us occupied.
Yeah, we have to live in the world. Yeah.
Yes, we have to live in the world. Yes. So sign up, everyone. Looking forward to next week. Until then, let's finish off once again. Anil Kumar sir, gratitude for this week. We'll finish off with Samasta Lokas. Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Jai Bolo Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Babaji ki. Jai. Sairam sir. Sairam everyone. Stay safe.
Sairam. Thank you.
Sairam.
Sai Ram.